She stood on the rain-slicked pavement, the flimsy cardboard box in her hands dissolving, holding the last pieces of her life. The divorce was final. Her husband of 10 years, Medette, had taken the house, the savings, and her dignity, leaving her with nothing but a bitter laugh and the words, "You'll be on the street in a week." As the cold Seattle rain soaked her to the bone, she believed him. Her car wouldn't start. She was well and truly broken. Then a silent, impossibly black Bentley Arnage glided to the curb. The rear window lowered, and a face she hadn't seen in 15 years looked out. He opened the car door, and in a voice that held the entire world, he said, "Welcome home." The gavel strike was a dull, final thud in the sterile air of courtroom 3B. It was the sound of a door locking, the sound of an ending. Bella Sterling, no Bella Hayes again. She had to remember that kept her spine perfectly straight. She stared at the wood grain on the table in front of her, tracing a knot in the varnish with her eyes, refusing to give her ex-husband the satisfaction of her tears. "The dissolution is granted," said Judge Miller, his voice a monotone drone. "Assets to be divided as per the post-nuptial agreement, Exhibit B." Bella's lawyer, a young, exhausted public defender named Sarah, placed a hand gently on her arm. Bella had no money for a high-powered attorney. Medette, of course, had the best that Covington and Burling had to offer. Exhibit B. Bella thought the bile rising in her throat. The agreement she'd signed 3 years ago when Medette had first been promoted to vice president at Sterling Financial. She'd been so proud of him, so trusting. He'd called it housekeeping, a formality to protect our future. She didn't read the fine print. She didn't see the clause that voided her claim to his burgeoning portfolio if the marriage ended for any reason. The any reason, it turned out, was named Chloe. His 24-year-old assistant, all sharp angles and sharper ambition. Medette stood up, buttoning his custom-tailored Tom Ford suit. He adjusted his cufflinks, a smirk playing on his perfectly handsome face. He leaned over to his lawyer, whispered something, and they both shared a low chuckle. He didn't even look at Bella. Why would he? She was a discarded object. Bella had met Medette when she was 22, a promising graduate from the Rhode Island School of Design. Her portfolio in sustainable architecture and interior design had been called prodigious. Then Medette came along. He was charming, driven, and intoxicating. He loved her creativity, he said. But after the wedding, creativity became a cute hobby. Her design work became clutter. Her dreams of starting her own firm were unrealistic and financially irresponsible. "I make enough for both of us, Ellie." He'd said, the pet name becoming a tool of control. "Why don't you focus on us, on making our home a sanctuary?" So she had. She'd put her portfolios in the attic where they gathered dust. She'd designed his sanctuary, a cold minimalist mansion in Medina, hosted his partners, and slowly, piece by piece, erased herself. The last memory of that life, the one that finally broke her, wasn't even the discovery. It was the sound of the discovery. She'd come home early from a charity luncheon holding a small framed sketch she'd done, the first creative thing she'd made in years. She was going to surprise him. She heard laughter from the master bedroom. Not just any laughter. A high-pitched performative giggle that wasn't hers. She'd pushed the door open. Chloe, wearing Bella's own silk robe, was perched on the edge of their bed. Medette was standing by the window, a glass of scotch in hand. They weren't even startled. They just looked at her, as if she were the one who was interrupting. "Bella," Medette had said, his voice flat, annoyed. "You're early." The little sketch had slipped from her fingers, the glass shattering on the hardwood floor. "Oh, good," Chloe had said, looking at the broken frame. "She broke something. You said she was clumsy." That was 6 months ago. 6 months of legal hell where Medette's lawyers painted her as an unstable, artistically tempered gold digger, while Medette himself cried poverty to the court, hiding assets and offshore accounts Bella couldn't prove existed. She stood up. The courtroom was emptying. Medette and his team were already out the door, probably heading to Canlis for a champagne lunch. Bella, Sarah, her lawyer, looked at her with pity. "Do you have somewhere to go?" "The motel?" I'll be fine. Bella lied, her voice hoarse. I have my car. She walked out of the King County Courthouse into a wall of gray. The Seattle sky had opened up a torrential, biting cold October downpour. She had one suitcase and a single cardboard box filled with the few personal items Medette's lawyers hadn't contested: old journals, her dusty portfolios, and a small faded photograph of a treehouse. She'd been staying at a grim motel near the airport. Her 15-year-old Honda Civic, the one she'd had since college, was parked 2 blocks away. Medett had graciously let her keep it. By the time she reached the car, the cardboard box was sagging, its contents damp. She fumbled for her keys, her hands shaking from cold and adrenaline. She put the key in the lock, turned it. Click. She tried again. Click. Click. The battery was dead. Of course it was. It was the universe's final cruel joke. Bella Hayes, 32 years old. A graduate of RISD and ex-wife, stood in the pouring rain, leaning her forehead against the cold, wet glass of her dead car. The box in her arms finally gave way, spilling her life onto the wet pavement. Old sketches, her most private dreams, were now just soggy pulp. A sob, hot and raw, finally tore itself from her throat. She sank to her knees on the sidewalk, defeated. Medett was right. She had nothing. She was nothing. A shadow fell over her. She didn't look up, assuming it was a passerby. Then a low, powerful rumble cut through the sound of the rain. A car engine that didn't sputter but purred. A long, impossibly black Bentley. Arnage, a car that looked more like a block of polished obsidian than a vehicle, had pulled up beside her. It was so close its tires were almost touching the curb. She shielded her eyes from the rain. The rear window, tinted to an impenetrable black, glided down with perfect, expensive silence. Inside, a man was looking at her. He wasn't smiling. His face was all sharp angles and intense dark eyes. He looked like he'd been carved from marble. He wore a suit that probably cost more than her car, even when it was new. For a second she thought he was one of Medette's associates come to gloat. But then his eyes, which had been scanning her with a look of pained recognition, met hers. "Bella," he asked. The voice. It wasn't the man's voice. It was the boy's. A voice she hadn't heard in 15 years now, wrapped in steel and power. "Ellie." She could only stare, rain and tears mixing on her face. Justin Thorne. Her childhood neighbor. Her best friend. The boy who'd helped her build that treehouse. The boy who had vanished overnight when they were both 17. He didn't say anything else. The driver's door opened and the bodyguard stepped out, unfurling a massive black umbrella. But Justin was already moving. He opened his own door and stepped out into the deluge, his polished leather shoes sinking into a puddle. He walked around the car, his eyes never leaving her face. He crouched in front of her, the rain plastering his dark hair to his forehead. He looked at the ruined box, the soggy sketches, and then back at her. His expression was unreadable, a thunderstorm of emotions. He simply held out his hand. "We're leaving." My car," she stammered, gesturing uselessly. "Forget the car," he said. His bodyguard was already picking up her suitcase. Justin himself began gathering the soaked sketches, handling them with a strange reverence as if they were priceless artifacts. "Justin, I can't," she whispered. "You don't understand. I have nothing." "You have me," he said, as if it were the simplest fact in the world. He stood and gently, firmly pulled her to her feet. He guided her to the open rear door of the Bentley. The interior smelled of rich leather and something clean and expensive. She hesitated at the threshold, a woman in a $50 dress from Target dripping rainwater onto the plush lamb's wool carpet of a $500,000 car. Justin put his hand on the small of her back, a gesture both protective and commanding. "Get in, Ellie," he said, his voice softer now. He leaned in, and his next words seemed to come from a dream, from a life she'd forgotten she ever had. "Welcome home." The ride was silent, but it was a silence thick with 1,000 unasked questions. Bella sat on the soft leather, shivering, acutely aware of the puddle forming at her feet. The bodyguard, a mountain of a man named Stone, sat in the front passenger seat, staring straight ahead. Justin sat beside her, not touching her, but his presence was a tangible heat. He'd taken off his suit jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. It was heavy, lined with silk, and smelled like him, that clean, expensive scent she couldn't place, mixed with the faint, metallic smell of rain. He had her ruined sketches in his lap. He was looking at one, a drawing of a cantilevered house emerging from a cliffside. "You never stopped," he murmured, more to himself than to her. "Justin, where are we going?" she finally managed to ask. Her voice was a reedy whisper. "What are you? How did you—" "We're going somewhere safe," he said, his dark eyes finally lifting to meet hers. The intensity was startling. This wasn't the lanky, laughing boy who'd shared cherry cokes with her. This was a man who commanded. "How did I find you? I've been looking for you, Ellie, for a long time." "Looking for me? Why?" "Because," he said, and a flicker of the old Justin, the vulnerable one, passed through his eyes. "I never finished our conversation." She had no idea what that meant. Their last conversation had been 15 years ago, a rushed, whispered argument by their shared fence line. He'd been upset, distant. He said his family was having some trouble. The next morning his house was empty. The bank had foreclosed. No note, no goodbye. The Bentley glided through the streets of downtown Seattle and didn't stop. It headed to the most exclusive, newest building on the skyline, a shimmering glass spire that pierced the clouds. It was called Ethelgard, a name that dripped with old money and new tech. The car didn't stop at the curb. It descended into a private, silent underground garage. The garage was empty save for two other cars that looked just as expensive as the Bentley. They parked and Justin led her to a private elevator. He pressed his thumb to a biometric scanner. The elevator doors opened with a soft hiss. "Justin, what is this place?" she asked, clutching his jacket tighter. I can't pay for any of this. You need to understand. Medette, he took everything. I have $400 in my checking account." Justin's jaw tightened at the mention of Medette's name. "The only thing you need to understand is that his name is the last thing you ever need to worry about, and you will never pay for anything again." "No," Bella said, stopping at the elevator door. The old fear, the fear of being controlled, of being a possession, rose up. "I can't. I just got out of one cage, Justin. I can't walk into another one even if it's gilded." He looked at her and his expression softened. "Ellie, do you trust me?" I don't know you. Not anymore." "Fair," he said with a nod. "Then trust her." He tapped his temple. "Trust the girl who knew me before all of—" He gestured at the car, the garage. "This. I am not Medette Sterling." He said the name like it was a disease. The elevator opened directly into the apartment. Bella's breath caught. It wasn't an apartment. It was the sky. They were in a 2-story penthouse. The entire western-facing wall was a solid sheet of glass 30 feet high, looking out over the entirety of Puget Sound. The rain had momentarily stopped and the clouds were breaking, revealing the jagged, snow-capped line of the Olympic Mountains. The space was enormous, but unlike Medette's cold mansion, this was warm. The floors were dark, rich walnut. A massive, live-edge oak table sat in a dining area. A sleek, modern kitchen with matte black fixtures sat to the left. But the centerpiece was a cavernous living area with a simple, massive fireplace, and in the corner a beautiful professional-grade drafting table and art station. "Justin, this is your home. It's breathtaking." "It's not my home, Ellie," he said, walking toward the art station. He ran his hand over the clean, untouched wood of the drafting table. "Then, whose is it?" He turned to her. "It's yours." Bella laughed a short, hysterical sound. "That's not funny. Please just take me to a shelter or a bus station. I'll figure it out." "I bought it 2 years ago. he said, ignoring her. "I've been renovating it." He walked to a sleek digital panel on the wall. "I kept trying to figure out what was missing. It felt empty. Then 6 months ago I heard a rumor. A rumor that Medit Sterling's wife was unhappy, that he was a brute." His voice was cold. "So I started looking. I found a photo of you at a gala. It was you. You still had the same sad eyes you had the day before I left." He'd been stalking her. The fear came back colder this time. He saw it in her face. "No, Ellie, not like that. I was just making sure you were okay. And when I found out you weren't, I started building." He tapped the screen. A section of the wall which had looked like a solid panel of dark wood slid open with a pneumatic hiss. It was a full design studio. Shelves were filled with pristine art supplies, 3D printers, and model-making tools. And on the wall, Bella felt her knees go weak. On the wall, framed and beautifully lit, were her sketches. Not the soggy ones from the box. Dozens of them. Her college portfolio. Her post-grad projects. The prodigious work she thought was lost forever. "How?" she whispered, walking toward them, her hand outstretched. "Your mother," Justin said softly. "I found her in Arizona 10 years ago. She'd kept everything. She passed away, Ellie, 5 years ago. I'm so sorry. She left all of this for you in my care. She always hoped I'd find you again." Bella touched the frame of her thesis project, a design for a self-sustaining artists' community. She hadn't seen it in a decade. Tears streamed down her face, but this time they weren't for Medit. They were for her mother, for the girl she used to be. "I can't accept this, Justin," she said, her voice thick. It's too much." "It's not a gift," he said, and his voice shifted. It became the voice of the CEO. "It's an offer. Thorn Industries is launching a new division, Thorn Sustainable Futures. I'm building entire communities, Ellie, not just glass towers. I need a head of design. I need someone who can design homes that are also art. I need someone who sees the world the way you do." He walked to the drafting table. "I had this all installed last week. The job is yours. The salary is significant. This penthouse is the standard executive housing package for C-suite employees." He was giving her an out, a way to accept this with her dignity intact. He wasn't giving her a gilded cage. He was giving her a job. A life. "You haven't even seen my work in 15 years, she argued weakly. "What if I'm no good anymore?" Justin picked up the soggy, ruined sketch he'd rescued from the street. The one of the cantilevered house. He smoothed it out on the table. "You drew this today," he said, "in the middle of your life falling apart. You're better than you were. He didn't break you, Ellie. He just paused you." She looked at him, this man who was a stranger and yet knew her better than anyone. She looked at the studio, at the view, at the life he was holding out to her. Where do you live?" she asked. Justin smiled, a true warm smile that finally reached his eyes. It was the smile of the boy in the treehouse. He pointed to the ceiling. "I bought the penthouse above this one. Figured you might need a neighbor. And," he added, tapping the ruined sketch, "I want to talk about this cliffside house. I have the perfect location for it." Bella looked down at her work, truly seeing it for the first time. She took a deep breath, the first one that didn't hurt. "Okay," she said. "When do I start?" The first month was a blur of exhilarating, terrifying adjustment. Bella dove into the work at Thorn Industries with a ferocity that surprised even herself. The pause Justin had spoken of wasn't a pause, it was a dam, and now it had broken. The penthouse, which she'd officially accepted as part of her executive compensation package, quickly became her sanctuary. She spent her days at the Thorn Industries headquarters in downtown Seattle, a marvel of living walls and reclaimed timber that she'd instantly fallen in love with. Her nights were spent in her own studio sketching, designing, and breathing life back into the woman she had locked away. Justin was true to his word. He was first and foremost her boss. He was demanding, brilliant, and had impossibly high standards. He treated her with a deep professional respect that was more intoxicating than any shallow flattery Medette had ever given her. He challenged her ideas, pushed her to be bolder, and celebrated her wins. Her first project was the redesign of a failing commercial park in Portland, Oregon. She scrapped the entire plan and proposed a mixed-use urban village centered around a massive public greenhouse and water reclamation system. It was ambitious, it was expensive, and Justin had approved it in a single meeting. But underneath the CEO, the boy from the treehouse was always there. He knew without asking that she hated coffee but loved black tea with honey. A mug of it would be sitting on her desk every morning. He learned that the stress of her old life made her forget to eat, so he'd accidentally order too much food for lunch meetings, always her favorites. And they talked. Not about Medette. That name was a void they both silently agreed not to enter. They talked about the past. One night they were working late in her penthouse studio finalizing the blueprints for the Portland project. "Why did you leave?" Bella asked suddenly, her pencil hovering over a sketch. Justin, who was leaning against the drafting table, went very still. "I told you, my father. You said it was trouble. You didn't say he'd been embezzling from his partners." Justin looked at her, his face a mask. "I had my PIs look into you, Ellie. Did you think you couldn't look into me?" She pulled up a news article on her tablet. "Robert Thorn, disgraced developer, avoids prison in plea deal. Family relocates." It was dated 15 years ago. "We lost everything," Justin said, his voice quiet, turning to look out at the city lights. "The house, the cars, my college fund. We left in the middle of the night. We moved into a one-bedroom apartment in Reno. My father, he couldn't handle the shame. He started drinking. He died 3 years later. Justin, I'm so sorry. Why didn't you call me? Write me anything. And say what?" He shot back a flash of anger, not at her, but at the past hardening his voice. "Say, 'Hi, Ellie, my father's a thief and I'm a busboy at a casino.' Say, 'I can't stop thinking about you, but I have absolutely nothing to offer you but my family's shame.'" He took a breath, calming himself. "I watched you. From a distance. On social media before you deleted it. I saw you graduate. I saw you get your first internship. And then I saw you get engaged to Medette Sterling." He looked at her, his eyes filled with a 15-year-old pain. "He was everything I wasn't. Rich, established, from a good family. I thought he'd make you happy. So I stayed away." "He was a monster," Bella whispered. "I know that now," Justin said, his voice raw. "I started building. I went to night school, got a degree in computer science, wrote a piece of code for logistics software. It sold. I used that money to buy one building, then another. Then I built Thorn Industries from the ground up, all with one goal." "What goal?" "To be the kind of man who could at least stand in the same room as you." He gave a short, bitter laugh. "By the time I came back to Seattle, and you were still married, so I waited. I told myself if he ever hurt you, I'd be ready." The air in the studio was electric. This wasn't a boss and his employee. This was a man confessing a lifetime of devotion. "Justin?" she started. Before she could finish, her personal phone, a new one Justin's security had given her, buzzed on the table. She'd blocked Medette on everything, but this was an unknown number. She ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. A text message. "You can't hide in his glass tower forever, Bella. You think you're so much better than me." Another text. It was a picture. It was her walking into the Thorn building that morning, taken from across the street. "He'll get tired of you just like I did. But I'm not done with you. You owe me." A cold dread, a feeling she thought she'd left in that courtroom, flooded her body. She must have gone pale because Justin was instantly at her side. "What is it? Ellie, what's wrong?" She showed him the phone. Justin's face, which had been so open and vulnerable, transformed. The warmth vanished, replaced by a cold, dangerous fury that was terrifying to behold. He didn't speak. He simply took out his own phone and dialed Stone, his head of security. "He's watching her," Justin said, his voice lethally calm. "Find him. Get a restraining order. And find out everything he's hiding. I want to know where he gets his dry cleaning. I want to know how much he tips for coffee. I want to know everything." He hung up and looked at her. "He will never ever get near you again. I promise you that." But Bella knew Medette. His pride was a venomous living thing. He wouldn't just be scared off by a bodyguard. He'd lost his wife, he'd lost his control, and now he was seeing her succeed on a level he could only dream of. This wasn't an ending. It was a new, uglier beginning. "Justin," she said, her voice shaking, "you don't know what he's capable of." "No, Ellie," Justin replied, his hand resting on her shoulder, a solid grounding weight. "He doesn't know what I'm capable of." 3 months later, Bella was on the cover of Forbes, not as a billionaire's girlfriend, but as the vision of tomorrow. The Portland Urban Village project had broken ground and was being hailed by critics as a masterpiece of sustainable design. Bella Hayes was the new star of the architectural world. She was giving interviews, guest lecturing at the University of Washington, and for the first time in her life, she was truly happy. Her relationship with Justin had settled into a deep, unspoken bond. He was her champion, her confidant, and her best friend all over again. The physical line between them was taut, uncrossed. He hadn't kissed her. He hadn't pushed. He was, as he'd promised, letting her lead. He was giving her space to heal, to become herself. And the more space he gave her, the more she found herself wanting to close the distance. Medette had been silent. The restraining order had been served, and Justin's security team was a subtle but constant presence. Bella had almost convinced herself he'd moved on, slinking away in defeat. She had forgotten, however, that Medette Sterling's greatest talent was public humiliation. The invitation was for the Seattle Art Museum's annual gala. Thorne Industries was the primary sponsor. It was in effect Bella's coming-out party. It was the first time she would be publicly celebrated for her work. She spent weeks on her dress, not buying one, but designing it. It was a deep emerald green silk with a structured architectural bodice that echoed her design principles. When she met Justin at the private elevator, he simply stopped. He was in a flawless custom tuxedo, but his eyes were only on her. "Ellie," he breathed, "you are everything." The gala was a glittering affair. The main hall of the museum was filled with Seattle's elite old money tech titans and politicians. Bella was nervous, but Justin kept her anchored. He'd hold her elbow, murmur a name in her ear, and flawlessly guide her through the social maze. She was in the middle of a conversation with the mayor when she felt a chill, the kind of dread that prickles on the back of your neck. She turned. Standing by the entrance, a flute of champagne in his hand, was Medette. He wasn't alone. On his arm, dripping in diamonds and a skin-tight red dress, was Chloe. "Justin," Bella whispered, her hand tightening on his arm. Justin's head snapped toward the door. His smile evaporated. "Stone," he said into his sleeve. "He's here. How?" Medette raised his glass to her, a mocking toast. He'd gotten a ticket. He must have bought a table just for this. Just for her. "It's okay," she said, trying to control her breathing. "He can't do anything. He's just looking." "Don't let him ruin your night, Ellie. He's irrelevant." The main presentation began. The museum director took the stage, followed by Justin, who gave a speech about the importance of art in public spaces. And then he introduced Bella. "Thorne Industries is built on finding the future," he said, his voice ringing with pride, his eyes finding her in the crowd. "But I was lucky. Our new head of design. The visionary behind the Portland project is also my oldest friend. Please welcome Bella Hayes." The room erupted in applause. Bella walked toward the stage, her heart soaring. She was doing it. She was here. She took the microphone. "Thank you, Justin. Thank you to the museum. A round of applause, everyone." A new voice, sharp and laced with sarcasm, cut through the room. Medet was walking toward the stage, his glass held high. Chloe followed, filming on her phone. "Let's hear it for Bella Sterling, my talented, talented wife." The room went silent. People looked confused. "Ex-wife Medet," Bella said, her voice shaking but firm. "You're not welcome here." "Oh, but I'm a patron," Medet said, feigning surprise. "And I'm just so proud. I mean, I always knew she had it in her. After all, I'm the one who paid for all her little hobbies." Justin was off the stage in a second. "Stone, get him out. Now." "Don't touch me," Medet shouted, backing away as security approached. "I have a right to be here. I have a right to congratulate my wife on her success." He made air quotes. "Success she built on my money, on ideas she had in my house." This was his plan. Not a physical attack, but a public assassination of her character. "You're pathetic, Medet," Justin said, his voice a low growl. "Am I?" Medet laughed. "Ask her. Ask her where she got the inspiration for her precious urban village. Go on, Ellie, tell them." Bella felt the blood drain from her face. "I see you remember," Medet sneered. "Those little sketches you used to cry over. The ones you said were your life's work. The ones I paid for you to make while you lived in my house eating my food." He was talking about her college thesis, the artist's community. The Portland project was an evolution of that. He was claiming it. "He's lying," Bella said, but her voice was drowned out by the gasps. "Am I?" Medet pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket. He held it up. It was one of her old sketches. "This looked familiar. It's from 2019, during our marriage. Funny, it looks exactly like the blueprints for the Portland project." He was mixing truths and lies. The sketch was old, but the idea was hers from long before she'd met him. "You're a fraud, Bella," Medet spat. "You're a common thief. And you," he said, pointing at Justin. "You're sleeping with her, so you're just as bad." "That's enough!" Justin lunged, but Stone held him back. A woman from the Seattle Times was scribbling furiously. Cameras were flashing. This was a disaster. "In fact," Medet called out, his voice gleeful, "I'm just protecting my own interests. My lawyers will be in touch, Bella. We'll be filing an injunction on the Portland project, and a lawsuit, for intellectual property theft. I'll see you in court, again." He tossed the sketch onto the stage. It landed at her feet. Security grabbed him, but the damage was done. He and Chloe were laughing as they were dragged out. He planned this," Bella whispered, staring at the sketch. Her night, her triumph. He'd poisoned all of it. She looked out at the sea of faces. They weren't admiring. They were suspicious. They were judging. She was once again the center of a scandal. She turned and ran. She fled the stage, pushing past Justin, and ran out of the gala, out into the cold night air, her beautiful self-designed dress feeling like a costume for a fool. The fallout was immediate and brutal. The next morning, the Seattle Times headline read, "Gala Scandal Thorne, Visionary Accused of Theft by Ex-Husband." The Thorne Industries Board was in a panic. The Portland project was stalled pending the injunction. Bella, hiding in her penthouse, refused to see anyone. She'd turned off her phone. She sat in her beautiful studio, staring at the walls, which now felt like a prison. He'd done it. Medet had found a way to take her work, her one last piece of herself, and taint it. She was sketching idly, her mind numb, when her private elevator dinged. She hadn't buzzed anyone in. The doors opened, and Justin strode in. He wasn't in a suit. He was in jeans and a dark Henley, and he looked like he hadn't slept. "He has access to your private elevator," she stated, her voice dead. "He had—" Justin corrected, his voice tight. "The codes are changed. Stone's entire team has been restructured. I'm sorry, Ellie. I let this happen. I underestimated his depravity. It's not your fault, she whispered. He's right. Justin stopped. What? He's right. The Portland design. It's based on my thesis, my work from college. But I did refine it while I was married to him. I sketched in notebooks, I journaled. He must have found them. He must have kept them. Ellie listened to me. He crossed the room and knelt in front of her, forcing her to look at him. He's not claiming you refined them. He's claiming he gave you the ideas. He's claiming it's his intellectual property. And I can't prove it isn't, she cried, the tears finally coming. It's my word against his. He's got my notebooks from that time. He'll say we collaborated. Who will they believe, the successful established financial VP or the unstable ex-wife who was rescued by a billionaire? They'll believe us, Justin said, his voice pure steel. Because we're going to destroy him. Our legal team is already filing a countersuit for defamation and filing to have his injunction thrown out. But they need ammunition. He has my notebooks, Justin. He has my sketches. Yes, Justin said, standing up. He has your sketches. He doesn't have mine. Bella looked at him confused. Yours? Justin walked to a bookcase in his living room, a part of the penthouse she rarely entered. He pulled a thick leather-bound book from the shelf. He walked back and placed it on her drafting table. Your mother gave me these too, he said softly. She kept more than just your college portfolios. Bella opened the book. It was a scrapbook, and inside on faded yellowed paper were drawings. A drawing of a birdhouse dated when she was 9. A sketch of their treehouse with "Top Secret" written in crayon. And then she saw it. A detailed complex drawing of a city in a garden. A multi-level structure with waterfalls, glass domes, and living walls. It was a child's fantasy, but the DNA of the Portland project was undeniably there. At the bottom in her childish cursive it was dated, July 19th, 2008, age 15, long before she'd ever heard the name Mr.Kryling. Justin, she breathed, tracing the old pencil lines. There's more, he said. He turned the page. It was a letter from her, addressed to him. It had been tucked into the book. Dear Justin, I'm hiding this in the treehouse. It's the plans for our future. This is the city we'll build one day when we're grown-ups. It's our special project. Don't show anyone, love, Ellie. My mother must have found it when they cleaned out the treehouse, Bella whispered, her hands shaking. He's claiming the ideas from 2019, Justin said, his voice grim. This proves the concept is yours from more than a decade earlier. This kills his entire claim. This is the silver bullet. Bella felt a rush of adrenaline, of hope. We have him. We have part of him, Justin said. This proves the idea is yours. But he can still argue the execution was marital property. It's not enough to just win, Ellie. I want to end him. He began to pace. My legal team is good, but Sterling is slippery. He's hidden his assets. He's clean. No, he's not, Bella said, thinking back. He was careless. He used to brag about creative accounting, about his firewalls. He had a second laptop, a personal one. He kept it in his home office safe. He said it was his real brain. Justin stopped pacing. A second laptop. Where is it now? It would be at the house. The Medina house. The one he got in the divorce. That's a fortress, Ellie. We can't just walk in. I can, she said. Justin looked at her. Absolutely not. It's a violation of the restraining order. He'd have you arrested. He's not there, Bella said, her mind racing. Chloe. She's been posting on Instagram. She's in Cabo, on his yacht. Look. She pulled up Chloe's public profile. There she was, champagne glass in hand, tagged at Cabo San Lucas. The post was from 1 hour ago. He's with her, Bella said. The house is empty. It's still insane, Justin argued. Is it I designed that house, Justin? I designed the security system. He never bothered to change the master codes. because he never ever thought I'd be smart enough or brave enough to use them." She looked him in the eye, the girl from the treehouse and the head of design merging into one. "He has my notebooks. I'm going to get them. And while I'm there," she said, a cold smile touching her lips, "I'm going to get that laptop." "You're not going alone," Justin said. "I have to. If you're seen, it's a different crime. I am just an ex-wife retrieving personal items. You're a rival CEO breaking and entering. I'm not dragging you down with me." She grabbed her keys. "Just have Stone get me there. And have our lawyers ready. I'm going to war." The Medina house was dark. It sat on the edge of Lake Washington, a monument of glass and steel that had once been her prison. Stone, Justin's bodyguard, idled the car at the end of the private drive, hidden by a grove of fir trees. "You have 5 minutes, Ms. Hayes," Stone said, his voice tense. "Justin's orders. After that, I'm coming in." "You won't have to," Bella said. She slipped out of the car, a small, dark figure in the night. The code for the gate was her mother's birthday. 0416. It beeped green. He never changed it. The arrogance. The front door code was the date he'd been promoted to VP. 1102. It clicked open. The house was silent, but it wasn't empty. It smelled of Chloe's cloying perfume. Her shoes were kicked off in the hallway. Clothes were draped over the furniture. The sterile sanctuary Bella had maintained was now a messy, lived-in space. She went straight to the home office. The safe was behind a minimalist painting just as she'd left it. The code was their anniversary. 0821. She cringed as she typed it. The safe hissed open. Inside was the laptop and a stack of her moleskin notebooks. Her heart hammered. She grabbed them, stuffing them into the backpack she'd brought. She was about to close the safe when she saw a flash of red. It was a small velvet jewelry box. Not hers. Curious, she opened it. Inside was a gaudy, enormous diamond ring. A new one. An engagement ring. And under it, a sticky note. "Property of C. Jensen. Can't wait to be Mrs. Sterling." He was going to marry her. The thought was so absurd Bella almost laughed. "He's not going to marry you, sweetie." Bella froze. The blood turned to ice in her veins. She turned around slowly. Chloe was standing in the doorway. She wasn't in Cabo. She was in a silk robe, another one of Bella's, and she was holding a glass of wine. "I saw the gate light flash on the security panel," Chloe said, taking a sip. "I figured it was just Medette forgetting his keys. But this is so much better. Chloe, I'm just getting my things." "Your things?" Chloe laughed, a high, sharp sound. "Looks like you're robbing the place. Medette is going to love this. He'll have you arrested. You'll lose everything." She raised her phone, ready to dial. "He's not marrying you, Chloe," Bella said, her voice surprisingly steady. "He's using you, just like he used me. Oh, please, spare me the wronged wife speech. He loves me. He's giving me everything he denied you." "Is he?" Bella said, holding up the ring box. "Or is he just buying you off? You're his alibi for the gala. You're his witness for the lawsuit. You're a prop. The second you stop being useful, or the second you get wrinkles, he'll replace you, just like me." Chloe's smile faltered. A flicker of insecurity of truth passed through her eyes. "He's a monster," Bella pressed, walking slowly toward her. "He doesn't love you. He loves winning, and he's dragging you into his crime. When he goes down for this fraudulent lawsuit, you'll be an accomplice." "He's not going to lose," Chloe spat, but her voice wavered. "He is. I have proof the design was mine from before I ever met him. He's committing perjury, and you're helping." Chloe was quiet, her artfully manicured hand trembling. He's been different," Chloe whispered, her bravado crumbling. "Since the gala, he's angry. All the time. He grabbed my arm last night, left a bruise." She touched her silk-covered bicep. Bella felt a sudden unwelcome pang of pity. "That's how it starts, Chloe. A grab, then a shove, then worse. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to get my life back from the man who's destroying us both. Bella held out her hand. He's in Cabo, isn't he? But he left you here. Why to stand guard? You deserve better than being his watchdog. Chloe looked at the phone in her hand, then at Bella. She was a mean girl, ambitious and cruel, but she was also, Bella realized, just another victim in Medet's orbit. He's not in Cabo, Chloe said, her voice flat. He's at a meeting with his other offshore banker, a Mr. Haas. He's moving money, a lot of it. He said if this lawsuit doesn't pay out, we'll need a nest egg. He's running, Bella realized. He's embezzling. I heard him on the phone, Chloe said, the words spilling out. He's been siphoning from his clients' accounts. Small amounts for years. He called it trimming the fat. That laptop, it's not just his brain, it's his ledger. All of it. Every dime. This was bigger than a defamation suit. This was a federal crime. Help me, Chloe, Bella said. He's going to prison. You can either be the girl who went with him, or you can be the woman who helped put him away. Justin Thorne, my boss, he's a powerful man. He can protect you. He can give you a fresh start. Somewhere Medet can never find you. Chloe looked at the diamond ring in Bella's hand. Her face hardened. She wasn't a good person, but she was a practical one. He bragged, Chloe said, her voice low. After the gala. He was drunk. He said he was going to ruin you. He said she thinks she's so smart I'll own her. I'll tell them I gave her the ideas. She's nothing without me. Bella's blood ran cold. Did you record him? Chloe gave a slow, predatory smile. He always liked it when I filmed him. He's so vain. She took out her phone. She tapped a few buttons, and then she hit play. Medet's voice filled the room, drunk and slurring but unmistakable. Tell them I gave her the ideas. She's nothing. It was the smoking gun. A full confession. I'll text it to you, Chloe said. And I'll testify, in exchange for full immunity and a plane ticket to, say, Sydney. Done, Bella said. Her phone buzzed. The video file arrived. Now get out, Chloe said, draining her wine. I'm going to pack. Bella didn't hesitate. She ran from the house, clutching the backpack, her notebooks, and Medet's entire criminal enterprise. She jumped into the car. Stone Drive, she said, her voice shaking with adrenaline. And get Mr. Thorne on the line, now. Tell him we've won. They didn't go to court. Justin's legal team, armed with the 15-year-old sketches, the laptop, and Chloe's video, didn't just have a silver bullet. They had a nuclear arsenal. They arranged a mediation at the offices of Covington and Burling, Medet's own high-powered law firm. Medet arrived tanned from Cabo, looking arrogant and victorious. He clearly had no idea Chloe had flipped. He sat at the long, polished table, flanked by his lawyers, a smirk on his face. Bella Justin, he said, nodding. Glad you've come to your senses. My offer is simple. 50% of the Portland project's profits and a public apology from you. He pointed at Bella, for your little stunt at the gala. Justin's lead lawyer, a sharp woman named Harriet, just smiled. We have no intention of accepting your offer, Mr. Sterling. We are, however, here to present our counter. Counter, Medet laughed. You have nothing. We have this, Harriet said. She slid a tablet across the table. It's a video from your fiancée, Miss Jensen. We'd prefer to watch it together. She pressed play. The conference room was filled with Medet's own drunken voice. I'll tell them I gave her the ideas. She's nothing without me. Medet's tan vanished. His face went a pasty, sickly white. His lawyers, who had looked so confident, were now staring at him in open horror. That's deep-faked, Medet stammered. She's a psycho. You can't. We also have this, Harriet continued, placing Bella's childhood scrapbook on the table, open to the city in a garden sketch. Dated 2008. Your intellectual property claim appears to be off by about 11 years. And finally, Harriet said, we have this. She slid the second laptop across the table. "Which you reported stolen from your home 2 nights ago. An anonymous good citizen found it and turned it over to us. We in turn passed its contents on to the SEC and the U.S. Attorney's Office. They found your ledgers to be fascinating reading." One of Medet's lawyers stood up abruptly, his face pale. "This meeting is over. We—" "Sit down," Harriet commanded, her voice like ice. "It is over. Here's what happens now. You are going to sign this document dropping your lawsuit, forfeiting any and all claims against Ms. Hayes, and signing a permanent, ironclad NDA. You will never speak her name or Mr. Thorne's in public or private again." "And if I don't," Medet whispered, his bravado gone, replaced by the shaky fear of a cornered animal. "If you don't," Justin spoke for the first time, his voice a low, deadly calm, "I will personally fund the class action lawsuit for every client you've ever stolen from. I will buy the firm you work for and fire you. And Bella will sue you for defamation, perjury, and emotional distress for so much money your grandchildren will be in debt. But none of that really matters." Right on cue, the glass doors to the conference room opened. 2 uniformed Seattle police officers and 2 men in dark suits, FBI, walked in. "Medet Sterling," one of the agents said. "You're under arrest for wire fraud, securities fraud, and embezzlement." Medet looked at Bella, his eyes wide with disbelief. He looked at Justin. He was completely, utterly broken. Bella stood up as they cuffed him. She felt nothing. Not hatred, not pity, not even joy. Just quiet. It was finally truly over. She walked out of the conference room, Justin's hand on the small of her back. She didn't look back. 2 weeks later, Bella was standing in her penthouse studio. The Portland project was back on fast-tracked. Her name was cleared and her reputation was stronger than ever. Chloe was as promised on a beach in Sydney, her testimony given via deposition. Bella was looking at a new set of blueprints. The ones Justin had rescued from the rain-soaked street. The cliffside house. The elevator dinged. Justin walked in holding 2 glasses of champagne. He looked relaxed, the lingering fury of the last few months finally gone from his eyes. He handed her a glass. "A toast. To the future." "To the future," she agreed, clinking her glass against his. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the sunset paint the Olympic mountains in shades of purple and gold. "It's not just an executive housing package, is it?" Bella asked softly. Justin smiled, that old familiar treehouse smile. "No, it wasn't. You called it home, that day, in the rain." "I did," he said. He set his glass down and turned to face her. "For 15 years, home wasn't a place for me, Ellie. It was the memory of you. The memory of that treehouse, of that girl who dreamed of building cities and gardens. I built all of this." He gestured to the city below. "Just to get back to that. Just to get back to you." He gently took her glass and set it down. He cupped her face, his thumb stroking her cheekbones. Is it home, Bella?" he asked, his voice vulnerable. "Or is it just another gilded cage?" Bella leaned into his touch, closing her eyes. She felt no fear, no obligation, no control. She just felt right. "You're not my boss," she whispered, "and you're not my savior." She opened her eyes, her gaze clear and strong. "You're my partner, Justin, in all of it." She rose on her toes and kissed him. It wasn't a desperate, needy kiss. It was a kiss of arrival. It was a promise. It was 15 years of waiting, of pain, of building, all melting away in a single perfect moment. He kissed her back, his arms wrapping around her waist, pulling her close. It was a kiss that sealed the past and opened the door to the future. "Welcome home, Ellie," he murmured against her lips. "Welcome home, Justin," she replied. And that's the story of Bella Hayes. She walked away from a divorce with nothing but a box of broken dreams, only to find that her oldest friend had built her an empire. But this story isn't just about a billionaire's rescue. It's about a woman who had her talent, her identity, and her power stolen from her, and who had the courage to take it all back. It proves that the past, no matter how painful, can hold the keys to your future, and that the people who truly see you will never try to make you smaller. Bella thought she'd lost everything, but she just needed to find the person who remembered who she always was. What did you think of Midet's ultimate takedown? Was Chloe's betrayal justified? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you loved this story of justice and second chances, please hit that like button, share it with someone who needs a story of hope, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel for more real-life drama every single week. We've got so many more stories to tell.